good evening to the third and final round of the Devon Autumn Mini Swiss, where we'll find out which two players in each section will be qualifying for the finals in 2 weeks' time. As usual, I'm Tom Thorpe, and as always, I am joined by my co-commentator. An anagram of his name is Mr. Dawdle Pint. It's Dr. Tim Paulden. Hello, Tim.
Good evening, Tom. I like to say it gets better every time, but not sure about that.
Well, I think the effort goes down. Well, probably goes up a
That's
little
right.
bit. Um, Tim, 2 weeks ago we had a, I think it's fair to say, a bit of a crazy evening of chess. Can we expect more of the same tonight?
I'd certainly hope so. I mean, a fortnight ago for round two, there were some crazy games that seemed to sort of spin on a dime.
Hmm.
There's one of the games where I think we called every possible result within the space of about 2 minutes.
Yeah,
Uh, Obviously, all the commentary's still online on your Twitch channel if anyone missed it and wants to go back and have a listen.
yep. It's
But
also on the YouTube channel as well.
and on
So
the
we've
YouTube
got,
channel.
yep.
But yeah, I hope it's more of the same this week. I mean, the games are really closely contested last
Mm.
week. Obviously, like you mentioned, it's the top two that qualify. Tonight, they know what they need to get in some cases in order to qualify. In some cases, they're going to be crossing their fingers to see how the other games go.
Mm.
But yeah, hopefully, we'll have some more dynamic and swingy games. That's what we like.
Yep. Are we going to be able to keep up this week?
Well, I think we managed to keep up with most of them last week, didn't we? But yeah, we'll try and do a bit of a better job this week.
Well, we can only try, can't we? The players should be getting underway in a few minutes' time, but for now, let's just have a look at the standings. So at the bottom of the screen, we've got the pairings as normal and the current scores, but we've also got the scores that each of the players have. So I just look at my other monitor, so apologies, I'm not looking at the camera. So in the major section, we've got Steve Dean and Alex Poyser, who are ahead on 3 points. So a 2-0 win tonight for either of them will qualify them, and I think 1.5 will as well. And then we've got Mike Marshall on 2.5, James McDonald on 2, who are facing the threes, Brian Gosling on 1, Rob Orton on half. So a lot to play for in the major section, and it's a similar story in the minor, with two players on 2.5, two on 1.5. An outright leader on 3, Babs on 1, looking to sort of upset the party as well. So yeah, I think we could be in for some cracking chess. I'm sort of rushing through it because I have noticed one of the games has started.
Oh wow. Okay.
Um, so I didn't want to. Well, they've set up the game. They haven't started. It's the match between Trevor Hurt and Graham Mill Wilson. Trevor Hurt, who will be playing with the black pieces in the first game, he was on 3 points. Graham Mill Wilson on 2.5.
Excellent. So this is sort of our board one in the minor. This one, isn't it?
Yes.
I suppose. And obviously, for anyone who hasn't tuned into previous weeks, they're playing twice. So it's not just one game. They play twice. Once with white, once with black. So yes.
Yep. No, it's we've got a very standard Italian game. It's quite nice just having one game to look at and can just watch it play out and be nice and relaxed. That won't last, but
No, I think they'll start popping online in the next couple of minutes, won't they?
yeah.
So,
Well, we told them to start at 25:2 to give us a little
yeah.
bit of time to start up. So no one's late. Don't worry.
Excellent.
Dear. So if anyone who's watching the stream, I see we've already got some viewers online. So thanks for doing that. Hopefully we'll get some more come in as the games start going.
Yep.
And this is quite a normal move in this opening d5 to try and open up the centre of the board. Black tries and contests it. Both sides putting their pawns on the edge of the board 1 square forwards to try and stop any potential pins that may have come. Possibly not necessary at a top level, but you know, it's not harming their positions, so perfectly fine there.
Yep.
As this is still the only match going on at the moment, so we can
Yep.
continue keeping an eye on it.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to work out how the maths works out. So left hook Trev, so the player of the black pieces has 3 points.
Yes, that's
and
right.
Graham Mill Wilson,
Hmm.
playing the white pieces, Deviator's got 2.5.
Yep.
So we need 1.5 to sort of guarantee. Oh no, that's not true because obviously each pair is playing twice, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh, this is difficult to work out, isn't it?
Well,
In order
you
to
are
guarantee.
No, go on. You are Dr. Tim Paulden,
I
so I was
am. I am indeed. I am
expecting
indeed.
you to do all the hard work.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, certainly if obviously a 2-0 win is going to put them in an excellent position. But with the other games going on, and obviously the possibility of them being
mm,
a 2-0 victory, uh, I think you're going to need 1.5 to sort of secure your place, and especially if you're the training player,
mm,
you want to be playing for the full 2 points. Really,
yeah,
it's not kind of like the last round of a congress. Sometimes if you're leading, you can take that half-point draw, and you
mm,
know that people can't catch up. But obviously, with it being 2 whole points, that's not going to be enough.
yeah.
So
And it does look like a lot of the games have all started all at the same time at
that's good.
25-2. It's nice to
Awesome.
know
Oh,
our instructions are listened to.
that's right.
So I will open all these up, so it's going to be a little bit scrappy at the
Yeah,
start, but
I'll do the same. So we should have 6 games in order.
we
Yeah.
should have 6 games. And I think the match between Alex Poyser and Mike Marshall is not quite started yet, but I think all the other 5 are, or I've only got 4 actually. So
Yeah.
I'll open them up in a little bit once I
Yeah.
have seen them. So, and yeah, apologies if I go a little bit quiet because my throat's not 100% at the moment. So we will plow on
Yes.
through. I'm getting the excuses in early, just
You have to guess the opening in Steve Dean's game with
Well,
Steve as white.
can we say it before I look? Is it a London? Let's have a look. It's a London, and
That's good.
yeah.
One's horizons can never be too limited, as they say. No,
Dear.
no, it's obviously a very solid setup. It gets I find it a really funny opening because it gets a lot of stick, or it used to
Yeah.
get a lot of stick for being sort of dull or boring or whatever else. And then obviously it got taken up by Magnus Carlsen and others
Yeah.
as actually quite a potent weapon if if you play it in a certain way. And
Mm.
yeah, so I don't think the reputation is deserved. I think quite a few people sort of employ it from time to time
Yeah.
just to kind of get a completely solid position.
Yeah. Or a complete hack, as I seem to remember was done against me before. In
Well, as I say, there's different ways of playing it,
the
different
right way and your
interpretations.
way.
That's it. That's absolutely right. I
um,
think we've got a 5th game, and we
I
may
think
have
so. Yep. Um,
and a 6th.
there we go. They
Yes,
have all started, and I've just
excellent.
noticed that just quickly, I've just opened up Barry Purchase game. Started off with 1E3, so
I like that move. I like that move. Just get straight into something that's a bit unusual.
each to
I
their
was,
own, I suppose.
it's
Um,
just going to play it as a call system. I
yeah,
mean, there's lots of different ways you can play this, of course.
another D4 opening that gets a lot of stick.
Yeah,
It's the collie. Um, right, so all 6 games are now underway. Shall we start from the top then? So we'll start off in the major
sure.
section with Steve Dean against James McDonald. We've already touched upon this game, but
Yep.
uh,
So So obviously Steve Dean here is cash only. He's on. You got all the scores up on the screen, haven't you, Tom? Because
mhm,
I can't see them. So sort of 3 out of 4 at the moment. So looking to looking to probably pick up a safe point if you can, I suppose, in this first game. I don't know.
yeah, well, it would be good to obviously starting off with a win here would put him in a very good position to try and qualify. Um, I think
What's
is
actually
4
going on
boxing.
here in terms of this position though? Because I've seen that this queen trade comes out a lot, but C4 is sort of
In this particular position, I
yeah.
don't think it's right. I don't like this move A3 because it seems to weaken the light squares on the queen side just unnecessarily. Like you can see this
Yeah.
knight potentially coming into B3 later on in the game once this knight goes.
I was wondering whether you could play E4 there and sort of try to undermine C4,
Yes,
if that makes sense.
yeah, I think that's a
Which
good move.
seemed kind of nice, that sort of thematic move, just to
Yeah,
yeah.
no, I think that's right. I mean, the computer evaluation obviously jumped to white after this queen trade, and I think
But, it
it
could
feels
be
like
it could be
E4
that.
is
It just opens it up, doesn't it? When you kind of I think that's advantageous to do that.
yeah. Whereas obviously now the knight's come to F6, it sort
Yeah.
of keeps the cover on E4. So black should be fairly solid, I think, here.
Mm.
But it's always interesting these positions. You see these in sort of the French advanced variation as well, where it's like, does black ever push with c4? Like,
Yeah.
does when does black close up the position, or where do they keep the tension? And it's always really difficult to know when's the right time to close it up and when's the right time to keep the tension. Do
Yeah.
you have any sort of tricks as to when you normally sort of either keep things open or closed?
Um, well, I normally keep things closed as long as possible. That's normally my opening repertoire personally. But yeah, I mean, and the classic thing, isn't it? If you kind of got the two bishops, you want to sort of open it up. I mean, obviously in this particular position, it's the same minor pieces.
Yeah.
But I guess the principle is who can exploit the space, right? So, um, when it is closed and it's a more maneuvering game, there's no massive rush to do things. There's fewer tactics. It's got a different sort of character to it. So,
Yeah.
I guess different people pick different positions, different openings for that reason because it
Yeah.
suits their style.
Of course. And I
So
think the just before we move on, I think this position looks quite nice for black. If I'm honest, I think the
yeah,
space advantage here on with these pawns in the center, the light squared bishops outside of the pawn chain, so it's not stuck behind it as you would see in sort of a French defense. It's outside. I quite
yeah,
like black's position here.
yeah, I do as well. It's kind of for some reason, the sort of this bishop on a e2 sort of lacks scope at the moment.
Yeah.
Um,
Where does it
I,
go? Where does it
yeah,
have any prospects?
yeah.
Yeah.
So
And you'll be
okay,
pleased to know Jack has just commented in the chat. This must be a Steve Dean game. So I think Jack's just joined in the comment in the chat and
excellent.
has seen that. So yes, you're right. What a surprise.
I did have an interesting fact about Steve. We asked all the players, "Can you
Yes.
tell us something interesting?" And Steve's interesting fact is that he's known to be a boring player. And in one game at Sidmouth, someone fell asleep at the board playing against him. So yeah, obviously at this time control, that's much less likely. But
Mm. Just a quick question: are you still connected to chess.com? Because I have just lost connection. I'm still
yeah, I think
online, but
I think I've had the same. So fingers crossed that hasn't affected everybody.
yes, I'm slightly concerned only because there were some issues on Thursday. It does look like chess.com is
Hmm.
going under some technical difficulties. This will be interesting. So
Yeah.
hopefully they'll be able to recover. We did have this in the Devon Rapid Play, another event that the DCCA is running. We had this on Thursday. A few players playing in that got caught out by that. So
Yeah.
let's just hope that chess.com comes back.
Yeah.
And
I'm
Jack
just
has
going.
fallen asleep in a tournament game as well, but it wasn't against Steve Dean. Um,
I'm just. I'm sure it'll keep all the games, but I'm just screenshotting where things are at the moment
yep.
because that's probably going to be useful for us.
Yeah, of course. I mean, clearly, if the games have to be replayed, then I think we sort of have to allow the players to sort of just restart the games. The games just get abandoned, start again, because I don't think we had any results at that point. So
Yeah.
I think that's the only sort of thing we could do.
Yeah.
Um, it does look like having a look at just another chess stream that's going on, which is on the
Hmm.
Skilling Open, which is the tournament that's going on with all the Super GMs at the moment. It looks like the chess.com feed for that is down as well. So it does look like there is a
Oh wow.
chess.com issue. Um, so
Well, if it's affecting them, what's that? The $1.5 million?
yeah,
Slightly more important than our round three, but
oh, I
annoying
wouldn't say
annoying
that.
all the same.
I wouldn't say that. So yep. So apologies for this, folks. Nothing we can do about this.
What I'll do is I'll email the players, Tom. If you just give me
Yep.
a second,
No,
I'll just
absolutely, that's fine.
okay.
So Tim's now going to leave me to improv on my own as he's muted himself, so can't even chip in. So if you have any questions in the chat, just general chess questions, general anything, please, now is the time to ask because we've got some time to answer them whilst chess.com is sorting out their issues. Um, I suppose at the moment would be a good time to start plugging some of the other events Devon is running. So in the DCCA online club on chess.com, we've been running a Grand Prix every Monday and Friday for the last 6 weeks. That's coming to a conclusion, the Grand Prix the league stage of it, tomorrow night. No, not tomorrow night, Friday night. God, it's going well. On Friday night, and then we'll be having semi-finals and finals broadcast here again. Commentary for me, possibly not Tim, depending on if he qualifies, of course, for the other things. I think it's fair to say I probably won't be qualifying given my performances, but we will see. Um, in 2 weeks' time, we'll be having the finals of this event, the mini Swiss. As we said, the top two players will go through to a 2-game match in 2 weeks' time. So we're looking forward to that in 2 weeks' time. Again, me and Tim hopefully will be here to commentate on that. Um, and we also have been going on with a rapid play that is going on as well, as I mentioned not too long ago, and we've got over 30 people involved in that, and that's over the stretch of a few months. Not broadcast, of course, but another event going on as well. For those of you that are part of the DCCA Online Club, we haven't sort of announced all of these things formally. The details are still coming about this, but we're looking at potentially doing a Christmas variants tournament. And we'll also be looking to do some team matches as well between clubs in and around Devon. So look out for information on that. Tim and I, mostly Tim, if we're being honest, puts in a hell of a lot of work to get all this set up. So our thanks there. In answer to your question, Sam, I think we'll probably have to restart the games. Chess.com restarting from positions is sometimes a little bit tricky. So we'll be restarting the games just from the start, which, isn't ideal, but nothing we can do about that, unfortunately. Yeah, we might not invite you, Jack, just because we know you'll be quite good at the variants. I'm only joking, of course. Everyone's welcome. And it's hopefully going to be a lot of fun, but again, we're just sorting out how that's going to work on chess.com. They've got a set of variants that you can play on there. Right, so it does look like chess.com is still down. And so chess.com has just published something. You can't see this on the stream, but if I just, you won't be able to see it, but it does say that live chess will be down for maintenance temporarily. They hope it's within 30 minutes that things will be restarting. Let's just hope that they come up a little bit quicker than that. This is going to be interesting. I don't think we had a contingency plan for this, Tim. But yes, it says, oops, there looks like there's an error. Please refresh. Well, I have refreshed. You can see my... you can't even see my daily games. They're not even loading. Yeah, chess.com's coming under some technical difficulties. So hopefully that will be sorted soon. Even the Beth Harmon bot is down, so I can't even fill by having a game of chess there. Oh, this is fun. This is fun. As I say, any questions? I can see we've got 9 viewers in the chat, so anything at all, please do get in touch. Well, this is fun.
I'm just letting the all the players know, and quite a few of them have emailed individually. So
Yes.
Trying to get them all on a mailing list
Yep,
together.
that's fair enough. I assume they're all emailing you, aren't they, Tim? It doesn't look like I'm
Yeah.
getting anything, so that's fine.
That's
yeah,
fine.
it's frustrating, Babs, isn't it? Yeah. Hopefully things will be back soon. This could be a longer evening than we thought, but we'll obviously let all the players know what's going to happen. Because obviously, if this goes on ridiculously long, then we'll have to postpone it to another evening. But
Yeah.
we're hoping that this is only going to be temporary, and this won't be too long.
This affected the first round. Was it the county championships? It's
Yes, it did.
I guess this is one of the things that, since the move over to online chess, you just can't. You couldn't imagine what the equivalent would be for this. This would be
Rain stop play.
a snowstorm. Yeah, exactly. But a snowstorm that means you can't get to the venue, or
Yep.
some or a
Well,
pandemic.
well, we've had both of those. Well,
Yeah,
all three of those rather. So there has been a time where rain has stopped play in chess. There was an event I think it was in Cardiff years and years ago, where the roof just started leaking loads of water. It was playing in this village hall or church, and people were getting rained on whilst indoors, so things had to be postponed there. I mean, this is the point where we would sort of cut to a VT of some interviews with the players, and us doing some funny skits or whatever, but instead here I am flailing a
Well,
bit.
that was the thing that you practiced that one thing, didn't you? No,
I'm not sure I practiced the introduction. Could
I
you
thought
not
I
tell?
thought you had I thought you had some sort of songs from the musicals. No.
Oh
Uh,
right, you want me to start singing? No.
uh I did have. I mean, I can share a couple of things
Mm,
from what the players sent,
yeah,
which was quite nice. Kind of reading through some of them. So Babs, so Lady of the Night, who I think did you say she's in the chat? If
yes,
she
yep,
sort of moved over there, so she said that it'd been the most enjoyable year of chess ever for her,
mm,
and one of the things driving that was the fact that through the club she got to the online club, she got to play so many sort of higher rated players that she wouldn't normally get to play, and I guess
yeah,
that's one of the things that we maybe don't think about too much that actually all this online chess, particularly in tournaments, you're playing people with lots of different standards,
yeah,
and I think I would probably have experienced the same. That the tournaments online where you get to occasionally play an FM or an IM,
yeah,
um, such as Jack, but it's quite a sort of democratic move in a way, isn't it? Because you get to play all these players
yeah,
at different levels, rather than all being in sections, which would be
yes.
the more usual thing. Yeah,
Yeah, no, it's really nice, and because the games are fairly quick as well, it's not too bad if you sort of, you play against a really strong player and it doesn't quite go the way you want it to go because they're a very strong player.
yeah,
It's like okay, you move on to the next game fairly quickly. So rather than have to wait 4 hours in a congress, for
yeah.
example,
Because there
um,
was that 24-hour tournament, wasn't there,
yeah,
where you sort of when was it 3 months ago? I can't remember exactly when.
I think it was back in May. I think it was or something. I mean, time has sort of merged into one
Yeah.
in the past 8 9 months, but
It can't be May, surely. Goodness me.
I think
Yeah.
it was that. Yeah,
I know. I sort of dropped in for a little bit, but I know you
mm,
played in that as well,
yeah,
and that was the fantastic thing that you could play. One moment you're playing a GM or an IM, and then you're playing someone, yeah, low rated than yourself, and it sort of bounced around,
yeah.
and yeah,
It
it's
was
just
really
a
good
quite a
actually.
unique format.
Yeah,
Yeah, unique.
I have to say I did get a higher score than you in that, but I think I played in it for quite a lot longer. But we'll ignore that part.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, no, I remember playing Amit Ghazi, who's probably one of the best blitz and rapid players in the country. Um, and then the next round playing someone weaker than myself, and as you say, it's great, and as you say, it sort of breaks down those barriers a bit online. Um,
Yeah, one of Babs's comments he said she's played Jack Rudd, of course,
yeah.
5 times. I never get that chance over the board. The fact he chewed me up and spat me out makes no difference whatsoever. It was an honour and a privilege to play him. So yeah,
Yeah. Um, so just for those players in the chat who have jumped in to sort of find out what we're saying, yes, we're going to have to restart the games anew. Chess.com probably, I'm assuming anyway, won't start them off where things left off because they probably had to do a server restart. It does look like live chess is back. I say that hesitantly, but it does look like things have there, and it looks like Graham Wilson and Trevor have started again. So
okay.
a game has begun. Hopefully, this doesn't happen again. If both you and your opponent are available, you know, if you're a player in this and in the chat, it's been nice seeing you briefly, but now's the time to hopefully go back and play some chess, and we'll see you later. But yes, hopefully there. Did we do a good job of filling? I'm not sure we did, but
We did some. We did fill it, and I think we did a good job. But it's it's difficult, isn't it, when it's just talk about stuff while there's
yeah. Well, I
there.
did some plugs of everything, so
No,
that's
that was really useful. Yeah, yeah.
so that's good. Yeah, lots coming up, and then we can
So
collapse.
what is normally the rule over something like this? Because let's say that you were halfway, not halfway through your game, but 10, 12 moves in, and if this happened in a proper tournament, would you have to play the same moves again, or?
So if the game had to be abandoned and moved on, then you could adjourn it. So it could be like what used to be adjournments,
Yeah,
and restart it. I think most people would just,
start again.
excuse me, start again. Yeah.
Yep,
Oh,
yep.
excuse me. Um, yes, I think that's probably what would happen. But the players would probably agree to what they want anyway. And I mean,
I'm sure they prefer to play on the start again.
in a real world situation, it's kind of difficult to know what you do because what's the parallel? What's
Yeah.
the parallel thing? So yeah,
Yep. So does that mean do we have two backup now?
yes.
I get that.
One's started, and I think
It's about to start.
Babs and Robert Kelso are, yeah, they've just started their game. So things are coming back up. Um, just a quick question from the chat a little bit earlier. Will there be interviews with the winners of the tournament? Well, if we
Yeah,
could,
why not?
why not?
We'll try and track them down. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll hunt them down next in 2 weeks' time.
Is that like a Skype interview or just a Q&A? What they after? Because we could get them to jump on the chat if they
Once
if they only
the
have if they have Skype. It's an extra technical challenge, of course.
well, yeah, absolutely. So we do have the same moves coming up in Graham Wilson's game against Trevor Hurt. Live Skype, Tim, is the recommendation. So
Okay.
we'll see what we can do in 2 weeks' time once we know the players that have made it through to the finals. 'Cause it would be nice to sort of have a chat with the players that we've been commentating on over the last what
Yep.
4 weeks. Um, so yeah, we're getting the same moves in Graham Wilson, Trevor Hurst. I think that will be a thing we see a little bit, just because it's fresh in your memory, right? So you
Yeah.
almost have a little bit of a bias to play the same things. As I just open up all the other
Yep.
games that we have. I suppose one of the big questions is: do we think we will see another London in Steve Dean's game when they restart? Sorry, dear. Sorry, Steve. It's so easy.
Right.
Oh dear. Right. So I think we've got four on the go at the moment. I think Mike Marshall might be having a couple of
Yeah.
difficulties, but it looks like you're on the case with that. So that's all
Yeah.
good. Um, Let me see what game you're talking about, Jack, because not entirely sure. I think it might be this one. Um, So it says, why not put it on d6 in this position? I think that's a good point. So this is the match game between Brian Gosling and Rob Orton. The bishop on d6 does feel like quite a good square compared to e7. I suppose one benefit of e7 is sort of, if the bishop comes to g5, but White's committing to put it on b2. So I think Jack's right there. I'm not sure why I'm questioning Jack's thing and going, yes, I think you're right, Jack. Well done, gold star. I think Jack knows chess a damn sight better than I do. Um, um, but yeah, hopefully we get the other two matches on the go soon. Of course, we can play them at a later date if things go, if things cannot be restarted tonight. But hope be nice to get everything done tonight because, you know, we're live tonight and
Yep.
be nice so it all gets done at the same time.
I mean, on one hand, it was better that it occurred then rather than 10 or 15 minutes later.
Yeah.
You know, because that would have been incredibly annoying.
Yes.
Because rather than being 10 moves into the game or something, it's
Could have had
you know
some
it's
live
nearly over. Yeah.
adjudications going on, which would have not been
Well, we've
controversial
got
at all.
we've got Jack for that, so that's good.
That's true. That's true.
No, I think
Did we put in the rules that Jack is our appeals committee?
yeah. I
Uh,
just think it's really interesting that if you play the game and then that happens, that
mm,
because you could in principle retrieve the position. Obviously, you might not be able to retrieve the clock times,
mm,
so it's quite interesting that you can kind of go, oh well, sorry, I blundered in that first game. I might just play something different this time.
yeah.
Feels yeah, it's an interesting. I think it's an interesting grey area, But
Yeah, and it's so difficult to resolve properly, isn't it?
yeah,
Because
well,
players could have also, thought had more time to think about a position
yeah,
as well, and
yep.
yeah. Um,
So have we got?
so
Yes.
so we've got
Okay. So we've
five
got.
games going now.
I think so.
I think so.
Who?
Um, so just having a look at Alex Poyser's game because Sam is asking about this in the chat. So apparently in the first game in this position, Alex went bishop c4, and in this game he's gone bishop d3. So this is a Petrov's defense with knight c3, which is sort of I think it's a fairly trendy way of playing at the moment. It's certainly what I play. So maybe not that trendy, but it's a way to try and not just get a quick draw out of a Petrov, which is a fairly drawish opening at a higher level. I think the bishop on d3 can be better because it's aiming at h7. I've always put it on c4. I found that if I play bishop c4, black tends to go sort of c6 and d5, or and just get a free tempo on the bishop. So I tend to put it on d3. I think it's an improvement, but I don't
Yep.
know the theory that well because I don't know theory.
Yeah.
Um, so Steve Dean is playing as well. So all 6 games have at least
Excellent.
got connected. So that's good.
Yeah. Got them all. That's
But
good.
yes, one thing that Jack's mentioned that I was going to mention is that in this system, generally instead of white castling kingside, the idea with this opening is to play bishop f4, queen d2, and actually castle queenside, and then
Yep.
you start playing moves like h3, g4, and actually start getting some attack on the king side. So yeah, that's generally the sort of trendy way of playing this line, but this is a fairly modest way of playing, and with the exchange on d4, we've got a very symmetrical position
Yep.
in that game between Alex and Mike Marshall in the major.
Yep. Excellent.
Right, I think, and I really hope it stays this way. We are starting again, and we are back.
All right. Forget the last 15 minutes.
With pleasure.
That's good. Yeah.
Right, where do you want to start, Tim?
Well, we started off. It looks as if we're going to be going into the same London system on Steve Dean's board, doesn't it? I guess it'd be interesting to see if there's any deviation. This is where the Queens came off on B6, and then White played
Yeah.
A3. Yeah, we were
Yes,
at the time we were looking at this other possibility
with e4.
of White playing E4. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
So we'll see what happens there, but
yeah,
that game's just begun. The game between Graham Wilson and Trevor Hurt did start quite a bit earlier, so that has had a few more moves in it. So
oh, okay,
I'm going
yeah,
to jump to that, and I can't remember where we left off. So we saw it was an Italian game, and it was
yeah,
the same again, but it does look like Black has done fairly well out of this opening. This isolated queen's pawn on d4 I'm not a big fan of, but it's probably still playable. Um, and after knight e5, there's been a trade on b3. I was a bit worried that a warning came up then, but it's just asking me, am I still here? So we've had some trades, but Black has won a pawn here by playing this nice sort of intermediate move instead of recapturing the bishop on d5 straight away, playing this bishop takes f2 with check first to win that pawn because it was going to be lost anyway, and then capturing on d5. So black is a pawn up in this position, looking like quite a
yeah,
healthy pawn as well, isn't it?
yeah. It is, yeah. Yeah, I mean, does he tuck this bishop into either e6 or c4? Does he try and keep it on this long diagonal? That's the question, isn't it? I kind of thought in the last move, knight c3, he's kept it on the diagonal like that. Could he have forced? Could he have forced the exchange? Because I prefer the bishop to the knight. I was thinking rook d2 here, sort of forces black to defend it,
Oops. Yeah,
and then knight c3 would be interesting, wouldn't
yeah,
it?
rook d2, c6, and then knight c3. I think is
Yeah, that's a bit
because
better.
major piece endgames are generally more
You've got queen check there, of course. In that, it's the queen.
queen b6 check.
Yeah,
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 okay.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So this is probably fine, isn't it? Knight
we
c3.
have had a result. We have had a
Oh wow.
result in the game between Robert Kelso and Barbara Newcomb.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
let's just quickly jump to a later position. But black has already won the queen there, so the queen's dropped off. So let's go through the game quickly and see where it's not gone quite right. So we had the Philidor defense, a slightly modest way of playing it with bishop d7, bishop e7,
Yeah.
trades on c6, and then castles on opposite sides. So could be in for an exciting game here. After bishop g5, okay, so the bishop is
Yeah.
unfortunately just not defended enough times there. So after bishop takes g5, The queen is also lost because
Yeah.
it's pinned to the king. So
I think Babs is more glad to see that bishop g5 than the one last week, which won the queen.
yes, that's
So,
true. That's well remembered. That I'd forgotten that.
well, yeah, that was an annoying little tactic, wasn't it? Taking with
Yeah.
the queen, he got trapped.
Mm,
But yeah, that's just yeah, there's just an oversight, isn't it? There, you need to defend that square one more time. Yeah.
yeah. So they're going to take a short break, I think, after that game. But so the scores on the leaderboard, I'm going to be updating the overall scores that each player has as well, just to keep us all up to date with the current standings as we have it. So let's
Ooh.
now take a look just to
Can we
complete this.
can we
Oh,
look at just to mix it up? Can we have a look at Brian Gosling?
we can.
Because this,
Yes.
yeah, that was on the list. Yeah,
Yeah. No, I mean it's. Ooh.
yeah, this is looking very very nice.
Mm, it's looking very nice. So, whereabouts
Yeah, I'm not sure.
has this gone slightly wrong? Because here it's looking like Rook F8 is
Yeah,
putting a lot of pressure, or Bishop G6, looking like it's probably going to win that knight and probably crash through on the king as well. So this also
yeah,
started out as a call, um,
yeah.
but yeah, whereabouts do you want to have
Well,
a look
I
here?
mean, just thinking about the opening.
Mm,
So this has got. Is this a Zuckertalk call or something? I don't know really
yeah,
openings,
so
but is this what it's called? Where you
yeah,
go
the
bishop
Zucator
b2?
Bishop B2. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I don't really sort of play this, but obviously I like having a bishop on b2
Yeah,
often, and it just feels like White's played this really naturally. And when this pawn gets to when Black takes on e5, I guess, and this pawn comes in,
yeah,
it's it's not looking very comfortable, should we
yeah.
say, at that point.
This
Just,
Queen F3 move's quite a nice move. A lot of players tend
yeah,
to put their knight on F3 as well to defend the knight here. But actually playing Queen to F3 just gives White a bit more attacking chances. It's quite a nice way of playing it. Because I've played sort of stonewall positions that are quite similar to this. Um, and yeah, White's just got a really nice position here on the king side.
I've got the feeling that like allowing playing f6 and allowing this to capture on g5, I think it's sort of panicking a little bit from Black's point of view. Like it's you're sort of posing the question, how are you going to break through?
Yeah,
Um, but obviously allowing this exchange, you can't, you know,
yeah.
realistically.
And I'm
I don't know.
assuming there's a tactic if you go h takes here. It feels like there should be something. I mean, you can go queen h7 and bishop g6 and then,
Is it just bishop
or is
g6
it
or
just
something?
bishop g6
Uh,
straight away? Yes, of course.
it
And
doesn't look very nice, that does it?
that looks like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
that's not looking great. That's a nice
Curtains.
move. So
Yeah.
yes, and Jack has confirmed it in the chat. So 1 point to
Okay.
you, Tim.
Right. Okay.
Um, but yes, that's looking
I stopped keeping score a long time ago, Tom.
not wrong.
So
Um, so yeah, well, so had I because I said it was 1-0. It wouldn't be that. Um, yes, so that's looking like a nice position for Brian there in his game against Rob Orton. Um, let's jump. I don't think we've had a look at Barry Purchase against Richard Bailey at all.
okay.
So I think I'm just going to jump to that one for now. So this
Yeah.
is in the minor section. So Richard Bailey, who is Ocelot playing with the black pieces here,
Yeah.
on 2.5 points, so only half a point behind the leader. And in this position, White has got the bishop pair, which probably gives him the advantage here.
Yeah. Yeah. What's going on here?
So we've got equal material, but this bishop on b2 doing quite a nice job on this long diagonal. Nothing immediately.
No.
I'm just wondering about a move like queen c6. Oh, which
Yeah.
Jack has
Yep.
just posted in chat 1-1. Um, but this move bishop takes f6. Is there a anything immediate? Because this looks like it's just giving opposite coloured bishops, and
It's a nice symmetrical structure as well,
it
isn't it? It's like
is.
that other game we saw.
Are
I
we
mean,
going queen b1 here to
Queen, if Queen c6, what's the idea that it's difficult to defend?
Well, it's just quite nasty. You're sort of
I
how are
don't
you
like rook d. I don't think rook d7 can be right. It's
in this position? No,
d7.
but
Right.
I think it feels like White's advantage here was the bishop pair. It was the
Mm.
bishop pair and just slowly using that advantage. It's a nice open position, so the bishops
Yeah.
are going to cover more squares. The bishops do a good job. They only cover half the board, but together they can just cover so many squares together. Um,
Yeah.
and as you say, it's sort of once you've traded them off, the advantage seems to have gone for white here. Um, but of course, looking at the times, white has a good time advantage, and that could be crucial.
Yeah.
Um, both players going to have to do a little bit of watching out for back rank tricks. Nothing immediately, but always something to worry about.
Yes.
And
There we go.
there we go, something to worry about. So they're clear. They're not listening to the stream, but
No, no.
they're just reading my mind and also playing a very natural move. Um, so yeah, this one again could go very much either way. There's it feels very equal, and I'm sure with best play this is probably drawn, but with opposite coloured bishops and the potential for players to attack, then you know things can happen.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, it felt like picking on the a6 pawn before might have been the way forward, because this rook on d7, I mean, black's covering d8 with his bishop, so
Yeah.
it sort of doesn't really feel like.
Yeah. Although, of course, this a6 pawn is now dropping,
Yeah.
but you can play rook c3, for
Yeah.
example, and take on a3.
Pick on that one. Yeah.
But yeah, there is.
After which there's rook a1 ideas, and white's got to be careful of his own back rank. So.
Yep, because of course the bishop covers a1 as well. This bishop on f6 actually is a really nice piece. Just covers a load of helpful squares for black. But
Yeah. I think Lady of the Knights kicked and Cumby Bob have kicked off their second game,
yep,
so that's nice.
We'll keep an eye on that. Just as a final thing before we move on to another game, this mass exchange in this game, I'm not sure I'm a fan of this. If white trades, the rook here, if black wants to trade the queens as well, then this bishop's going to take a6 and b5. So black probably has to play.
I've got a feeling that is that. Yeah, that's right.
So
yeah.
after rook takes d8, black probably has to play bishop takes d8, and white is going to win a pawn. I mean, I'm not saying it's easy because it's opposite coloured bishops, but white does seem to be getting the edge again in this game, which would be very interesting in terms of the standings, because Barry Pritchard with the white pieces on 1.5, needing a probably 2.5.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like the bishop can come around. It's gonna win one of the pawns, isn't it? I think.
Yes, I mean Jack's
But so black's gonna be pawn up. White's a pawn up on the queen side.
Yeah, so queen takes d8, bishop takes d8, bishop takes a6, and black can play something like bishop f6.
Yeah, and then bishop b2. Yeah.
And then bishop b2 and bishop
c3,
and it's going to win one of the pawns back.
It still feels like quite a clean pawn, but opposite colour bishops, isn't it? So,
yeah. But so we'll see how that one goes. But I think, I mean, given 2 weeks ago, anything is possible. But well, white hasn't traded the queens here, and trying to keep some play still in the position. But
can we have a look at deviate and left hook Trev? That's
yes.
Swung quite a bit since we last looked at it.
Going to say we were going to leave that. So
yeah.
Is this the position? No, this isn't the position. So we left it off sort of with I think it was fairly level. I can't remember. Or
yeah, this was
no. Black had a pawn. It was a pawn up, wasn't he?
That's right. Yeah.
And now the position is that black has won a piece and is a piece and a pawn up.
Yeah, I think this was just an oversight. There was a tactic where the knight was pinned on f4.
Do you have a move at all?
Yep. Let's try move. If you scroll back to move 28-ish.
28. Yep. So rook takes f4. Knight takes f4.
Yeah, which hits the queen, and then after this move, queen d6.
Yep.
Rook e2 is not gonna get the job done because that's exploiting the pin. Yeah.
So this knight can't move, so that's going to fall. It did fall, and after several moves, we've ended up that black is looking like they're going to take this game, which would mean Trevor Hurt on 4 points, would qualify, I believe. I think that is true on 4 points.
See how your maths is.
Yes, it is. It is true.
It is true.
Um,
Yeah.
but there has been a back rank issue in the game between Barry Purchard
Oh
and
goodness
Richard
me.
Bailey. So
Yeah.
White had the chance to go into this opposite colour bishop end game, chose not to, and well, I called it a little while ago. Watch out for
Yep.
those back ranks, and
Yep.
that has been a massive turn up for the books. So
Yep.
Richard Bailey has won that game and moves on to 3.5, which puts him very much in contention for qualifying. Um, and if Graham, well, Graham's probably going to have to hope that Barry Purchard can take the second game, and Graham can probably, wants to try and win his second game to try and get into a playoff for that second
Play off with with
position
3.5. Yeah.
with Richard Bailey. So yeah, not a great set of results for Graham there, but obviously fantastic for Trevor and Richard. So long as Trevor can, of course, get the convert in this position, which after 2 weeks ago I probably shouldn't call anything.
No.
Um, um, but that is looking quite good for Black in that position. Um, so Barry and Richard assumably taking a short break. Shall we jump back to some of the major games and let's have a look at perhaps Steve Dean against James McDonnell?
Sure.
Because unsurprisingly, Steve is short of time.
30 seconds. Yeah.
And we've only had 15 moves. That is a
And we played the first 7 of them before.
yes. Interesting.
Twice.
White
Played
didn't.
twice.
There wasn't the Queen B3, Queen B6 this time, and no A3. So
No.
they did play something a little bit different this time.
I actually think there's, unless you know of concrete lines, I think they can be a bit awkward for White.
Yeah.
The taking on B6, so it kind of looks good because you're doubling black spawns, but actually you're just giving them the A file, and they've got this very natural plan of playing B5, B4. So,
but of course, if you can break through in the center with a move like E4,
E4,
then of course that can counterbalance it, which is what White has just played in this position. And yes, I'm slightly surprised about this king on D8. I assume White went
yes,
bishop G6 check. Yes, White did.
yep,
Sort of pushed it out the way, but yeah, it does feel like I'm not really too sure. I mean, the computer's saying advantage for White, but I'm really not sure what I think of this position. I probably agree only because of this bishop on F8 looking a bit
yep,
awkward.
yep.
But it's going to come to D6. Maybe I don't understand this position.
I mean, you can generate quite a lot of pressure against E6, can't you?
Yeah.
Whether it comes to anything is sort of hard to say. But I think you're right. Swapping off these bishops looks good, and yeah, yes.
There we
What's
go.
going to happen?
Yeah.
Maybe it's going to fizzle out. It's going to be tough with 20 seconds left to play.
Against 6 minutes. It's a I know Steve's quite often in time trouble, but this is a big time disadvantage, and Black is playing pretty fast as well. We have had a result between Alex Poyser and Mike Marshall. We haven't really seen much of this game, I don't think, but Alex has managed to beat Mike Marshall. Just quickly skipping through to see if there's anything. So this was the very symmetrical position.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember this, and there was a potential repetition. And White ganged up on the E file and has got some pressure on these dark squares, but no dark squared bishop. The trade of queens, trade in the centre, and then a trade of rooks. Same colour bishop endgame, and this final position, well, is just fairly level, but it is a loss on time. I should have noticed this earlier. I seem to recall Alex has had lots of games decided on the clock. Sam also commenting this in the chat.
Well, they all count. I mean,
do.
that's the that's
do all count.
you got to get your moves in, and I think Alex is very good at doing that. And sort of stay when he was playing against Brian Goslin,
Brian,
so
yeah.
Frank Healy. I think it's fair to say he was behind quite a bit and managed to sort of hang in there. So
Yep. And taking Alex to 4 points, putting him in a very decent position to qualify. Just a quick check. I don't know if you have the figures there. Is James McDonnell on 2.5 points in the main tournament overall? Because I think I may have made a typo on
he was.
the stream,
Mm,
just as Trevor Hurt has converted his game against Graham.
yep.
So
He was originally on 2, I think, before
he was on 2. Okay.
he was on 2. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, it's not a typo. It's yeah. I think the Alex Poyser game is like sort of technically the top board, but not that it
Can,
matters, of
can we
course. But
can we switch if we may to the Brian Gosling game, Frank Healy,
we
because I
can.
think
Yep.
that's could be a super interesting finish. I think the bar's been going wild. White's got these Space Invaders running down the board. If Black takes one of them, he's got a discovered check to think about with their D5. What is going on here?
Well, Black is now out of checks, so it
Yeah,
definitely feels like White is doing well here. But
there we go.
there's the discovered check,
Yeah, there's
and
just this avalanche of pawns, aren't there? I
yeah,
think it
it's
just
just too many, isn't it? It's just too many. Um,
it's kind of interesting geometry that what white is. Let's see, black is out of checks here because I think there may have been, if we scroll back later a few moves, I think there's potentially the bar was level. So I don't know if there was a point where black's queen might have penetrated.
just skipping through.
So here,
There we are. So Queen
so
f3 check goes back, but is potentially Queen h3 check a better move,
which doesn't, yeah,
which doesn't allow the
it could be
bishop
that
to block.
to get in the way. Yeah,
Yeah. Then there's potentially a perpetual check or picking up h5 first, or
it's hard to calculate that
really
quickly
tough,
though.
really tough.
Yeah,
This is the position we're now in, and as you say, I'm now going to have to call them Space Invaders because you have,
especially
but these Space Invaders are coming
if
through. Whilst you were doing that, I was just thinking, Alex Poyser moving on to 4 points does mean that he is now qualified, I believe,
okay, great.
to the next round. Does look like 4 points is going to be
Well done, Alex, for
the,
sort of hanging in there in some difficult games.
the target, because only one of Steve and James can also get to 4 points. So it does look like that's going to be a thing. But the battle for the other place is
Is he?
still hotly
Yeah.
contested.
So don't get mated on E2.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, this is sort of picking up. This is one way, isn't it, to pick up the pawn with check?
Yeah. And also it covers
Um,
E2 as well.
oh, that's even simpler, isn't it? That's even simpler.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well played. Well played.
No, that's
Yeah.
looking good. That is looking.
If there's, yeah, if you see a simple win, look for a simple one, and that is, I mean, that's.
Yeah. Queen c5 as well would have been fine, as Jack is saying, just to trade the queens.
Yeah.
That's the professional move, I would say, if you like.
Okay, so it's still
Trading, but
it does have C7, doesn't it? It's not immediate.
yeah, I must admit, I sort of had assumed I'd missed something obvious, so sort of
No,
left
this
you
is
to it.
yeah.
But yeah, maybe there isn't anything, and I need to trust my
So,
instinct.
now you have to go back to because you've got queen. Yes, you have to go there. Now you should take on a6 or play this queen c5
Yeah.
move. Queen c5. Let's come on. Let's put it to bed.
Yeah, and then allow
It's
the
so I guess it's so funny, isn't it, to like play this amazing attacking game. Ace has found
there
it.
we
Yeah.
go. Yeah, play this attacking game and then trade the pieces, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
I
looking
mean,
like it's going to
is he
be.
concerned? Is he concerned at all? Oh dear me, that's a slight oversight. There we go.
Yeah, and that is a resignation. But so well played, Brian. There. So that's
Yeah, excellent game. Yeah.
a first win
Yeah.
in the match there. So that takes Brian up to 2 points overall. Um, so we have got just
Should we go,
Steve Dean,
yeah,
James
should we go back to
McDonnell.
Steve Dean because it's sort of they're both getting into. I mean, Steve's been in his last minute for a while, but James is a minute 20 now, and it's yeah, it's still very very interesting.
Yeah,
Want a little bit of time to think about this kind of position, right? 'Cause it's a bit of a maneuvering type position.
Yeah, it sort of it feels it's a very well, it feels very normal for sort of a London where it's sort of slightly closed and still a bit double-edged. Obviously, the bishops have been traded off, but
Yeah.
yeah, it feels like, I mean, one of the things that I think a lot of players do when they're short of time is just exchange the pieces because that's sort of the simplest thing to do.
Which
Um,
is what we're seeing here. Yeah.
yeah, and I was about to say that I don't think actually in this position White wants to trade.
No,
Um,
not at all. No.
but that's what I was going to say is we expect, but is probably
Yep.
what I would expect. But they beat me to it, unfortunately, by trading.
I can't remember who it was you were talking to about this, Tom, but um, I think it's one of the things that sort of early on, that they have this phrase, don't they, to take is a mistake.
Yeah,
And I can't remember if we discussed this on the stream before. Then forgive me, but what's so interesting is the reason for that. That essentially, if you imagine two rooks on an open file, and you take the other person's rook, you're not actually swapping your active rook for his active rook. You're swapping it for his passive rook because he's going to recapture
yeah,
and bring that one into play. So the effective exchange is between your active and his passive rook, and that's the kind of thing that I think when you decide to make an exchange, to sort of say, well, actually, I'm not just swapping off these two
yeah,
pieces. I'm swapping this active piece for a passive piece.
yeah,
Is actually quite an important principle.
yeah,
And yeah, I think here Black's actually getting a little bit short of time himself, but there's some tricks in the air here, aren't there?
yeah.
I'd much prefer to have Black here.
No, completely. Just realised that the title of the stream is still saying round two, even though obviously on the screen we've got round three. But I've just messed up that, so apologies for that. I've
There we go.
just realised that was saying that.
There's nothing like attention to detail, Tom. So
Well, it's the problem with having to
I
produce
bet-
and commentate and
yeah,
everything all at the same time.
that's right.
But there we go. Let's just change that now. Hopefully the video title on Twitch will say round three, but we will see. We will see. I did change that to three, didn't I? As I just leave the Steve Dean game up. There we go. Right. So hopefully that's sorted. So there we go. Um,
I think if White gets, yeah, I was
mm,
just thinking this is the natural move, isn't it?
yeah.
To kind of squeeze in this E4 break, and it feels like White's doing all right now.
Yeah, I'm trying to work out what.
Could have gone for the king side.
Yeah, sort of gone maybe King G4 or
Yeah, that
yeah,
looks right, doesn't it? Just put the question,
because
especially with Black short of time
because
as
they
well.
sort of say about knight end games they're sort of similar to pawn end games, right?
Yeah.
That's um, I'm not sure who said it. I think it may have been Botvinnik if I remember, but yes,
It, it's kind of odd because I get the feeling I think we've all been in this position before that Steve was like he played King E3 just then and then just played King back to F3. I think he's been in this mode of I need to play quickly. I kind of want to not force a draw, but I want to try and make this simple.
yep,
Um, and actually, I think he had a chance to maybe take the advantage there.
yeah.
Of course, like this is still quite awkward now, isn't it?
Mm. I mean, knight end games are really tricky. But this
Yeah,
this this knight on E4 is fantastic.
yeah.
Yeah, if Black plays knight King E6, then you've got knight C5 check.
Yep.
Um, but Black's got this.
G4 move. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So,
tricky. H4 knight takes F6 check. That doesn't feel quite right to me. Dropping that pawn with check and
yeah,
not
and then like
making
yeah,
huge amounts of progress. It sort of felt like Black wanted to keep the three pawns on the king side as the counterplay to try and create a pass pawn.
yeah. You could play G4 check, couldn't you? And
Mm,
and then if takes White can't take twice, so he takes once. H takes G4, King E3 is sort of forced, and then so in this position, yeah. I don't
so
know. It's still quite complicated. So I'm just thinking G4 instead there,
yes,
to try and because the king hasn't
yeah,
got access to F4, so he's gonna have to go King E3 at the end, and it's sort of saving the pawn, right? Because at the moment White's forking
yeah,
F6 and G5, but he's also got this idea of Knight C5 picking up A6,
yep,
so that would probably be
yep,
necessary. But it's a hard move to spot though.
yeah. I mean, these endgames are always really tricky. Just skipping ahead to the live position, the B pawns are being traded here, and it's just going to leave white this Space Invader on A3.
I
You
think you need to have at least two of them from the two Space Invaders.
okay? Okay. Well,
A
there's
single
the other one.
space.
D5.
Yeah,
There's the other.
there's the. There we go. Yeah, yeah. This is.
Um,
Yeah, I think this. I think this is looking very nice, isn't it?
yeah, it looks good, but it's still not the easiest end game to convert. There's always tricks with the knights, but two extra pawns should do the job. Um, yes, so hopefully, I'm just having a look and seeing what other games we can have a look at. Uh, I wasn't sure if you were muting there, Tim, or
No, no, sorry. I was just checking. It was just checking. I haven't been on mute for the last half hour. But
well, I was talking back to you. It may not have been coherent, but I think
it just went past the point. I'm just like, is he actually listening to?
um,
So, left hook Trev is interesting.
yes. So,
So how is this?
ooh, well, that's looking very nice for Trev. King
Yeah,
G8, Rook
he's got the
G8, and then Bishop C5 is
yeah. So the rooks aren't obviously enough to mate on their own. But yeah, this move on the end
looks curtains, which would I mean, Trevor's already secured his place in the finals, but would also secure Richard's place in the finals as well.
and
Bishop
we've got
D.
this. But I think this might be all right as well. I mean,
Yeah, I think so. Just looking at Rook H8 checkmate here. There's no,
yuck.
there's the back rank isn't going to be an issue. We've got the escape square of
Yeah.
G2.
It's just the fact that black can't. I mean, this is the thing about these rooks on the seventh, that it's essentially impossible for black to challenge it. So in particular, with both rooks on the seventh rank, he can't play rook e7 or anything to try and block.
Yeah,
There's just no blocks available. So yeah, that doesn't look very nice at
yeah.
all.
I assume black has to play something like well, I was going to say Rook E5, but to block that off, but you can just take and well, you're probably
Oh
just going
yeah,
to
I mean, if you got to play rook e5, I think that's got the
yeah.
game.
It's well, white's obviously got the extra ones. Um,
That's not going to stop it.
that's not going to stop Rook H8 mate, and if white plays that, that's going to all but secure. There it is, all but secure the minor. Um, and I mean, we don't have a playoff, I believe. So Trevor
Mm,
Hurt finishes on 5 points out of 6. A
wow.
tremendous performance there. Graham Wilson finishing on 2.5, and the other two matches still
Okay.
ongoing. So well played to Trevor there, and look forward to seeing him in.
Oh, go to Steve's game. Well,
Oh,
nice finish. That was on a knife edge. Dear oh
ooh,
dear, dear oh dear. Just got down to one pawn, and
just the one
he, c-
pawn.
yeah, that's nice
Just
timing.
yeah, of course, if you go King H8 there, Knight F7's going to be checkmate. So King moves away, and now you get the Queen, and
It doesn't surprise me that you're saying they're like king and pawn endings. It doesn't surprise me it just came down to one pawn though,
mm,
because it's the knights are yeah funny beast sometimes.
they're so tricky. They're so tricky. I had a county match not too long ago, which was a night end game, but was the final game going in the county championships. This was online, and I think Matthew Sadler was commentating on it, and I think just criticising both mine and my opponent's moves all the time. It was quite funny
It
watching
was
it
it
in the
was
end.
that it was a that was a proper circus of horrors that entire game. It really was. It was. but
Excellent.
you got the point, which is the main thing.
I did,
But
and it was all under control.
yeah.
uh, yeah, I'll stop lying.
Can we get to Ocelot
We
versus
can.
Bazboy?
We can indeed.
Because there's a nice little trick here if White spots it, and I think he has. So instead of swapping off, which it looks like you have to do this intermediate check, always look for the intermediate checks, and then what I'm hoping is he's going to just drop back one square,
Excellent move.
and
Excellent move.
that's absolutely horrible. And it's going to be a very similar sort of
Mm,
mating net to what we saw on the other board.
yeah,
But obviously, yeah, this is absolutely horrific now, isn't it?
that's a nice Nice
It's a
combination.
nice little combination. It's always worth just looking for those checks, isn't it? That White could
Course.
very easily have convinced himself he had to take the rook,
Yeah.
and he didn't. Yeah, so
Yep. I
it's
seem
good.
to be missing a board off of my stream, so give me a second. I'm missing one. I think it's Alex Poyser's match. There we go. Um, so yes, I
Okay.
wanted to sort of just quickly jump back to the major because
Yep.
well, we haven't got a conclusion there. Although I think Steve Dean going to 4 points if he does convert this, which he's about to win the night and should get that. I think Steve Dean will now qualify. Yes, he will. So so then we'll have wrapped up. There we go, resignation
Yep.
just as we speak. So we'll have wrapped up the finalists. We'll talk more about that at the end, but for now we'll keep on with the games. So
Yep.
if we just quickly have a look at just the conclusion of Ocelot's game. Now the rooks have come in, and as you say, going to be similar to playing King F8, play the other rook to F7, checkmate. So the king's got to go in the corner, and yeah, not looking pleasant there.
Yeah.
Um,
I think what's interesting about this position, I mean, there's a few interesting things about it, but Black, if you just flick through the entire game, Black has at no point managed to get this bishop going on his light squared bishop. And obviously, when you played the French, you sort of, in some lines, you're used to this,
yeah,
yeah. But this bishop on c8 is, hasn't participated in the game at all. Really, it's moved once to b7,
still
and
stuck
then
behind a C6
still
pawn.
still stuck behind the pawn. Yeah,
Yeah,
and then after this, it's been forced back to c8. So
yeah,
yeah, and has sort of no good moves here. So yeah, I guess that's always the issue, isn't it, in the French, to
yeah,
to make sure that you can get that bishop active somehow
yeah,
at some stage. Yeah.
yeah. And if you can't do that, then it's always tricky. Um, Right, so Steve Dean and James are taking a short break.
Great.
So we've got 4 games on the go. So let's jump to Alex Mike Marshall against Alex Poyser, I think. Just so I had
Yeah.
that open not too long ago. And we had an English and
Yeah.
a very symmetrical one of that. So, and
Yeah.
it's sort of turning into a very standard position where
So
White gains the space advantage with c4 and e4, but
I like the
yeah.
opening name is Fine Chateau Ultra Symmetrical.
Yep, there we go.
Ultra Symmetrical.
Ultra
That's
symmetrical.
that's what we like. No
Yeah.
risks.
There is a line which is about 17 moves deep that is all symmetrical in this sort
Yep.
of opening, and
Yep.
because they always teach you as a kid, don't they? Sort of, don't just copy your opponent's moves because
Yep.
they can do a check or some move, and you're not going to be able to copy them back, and you're the
Yep.
one that lose. But you know,
Up to a
grandmasters
point.
know
Yeah.
how to break the rules in the best possible ways. So, but yeah, a fairly standard English position here. White with the space advantage, but
Yeah.
black very solid. And
If you could just quickly flick to Lady of the Night, Cumbie Bob, it looks like that might be. Well, I'm not sure. I was going to say it looks like it might be coming to some sort of conclusion, but it's this exchange was won quite early on, I think.
okay,
Um, it's been two rooks versus rook and bishop for a little while, I think.
okay. Well, we're down to one
Uh,
rook. I like this idea to try and get h5 in.
yeah,
It's sort of the way it feels the best way to try and get through into the position, even when the rook moves away
yeah.
here. You
I think you've got rook h6. I was
Yeah,
going to say
that's
that's the nicest.
yeah,
That's a really
that's a
nice
good move.
move.
And I like playing king h4 here rather than okay. I mean this is fine as well, but
Mhm.
it's absolutely fine. But I quite like playing sort of just playing king h4 and king takes and just get through
Yeah,
that way. But different ways of playing it. Of course, you may have bishop f3, so maybe overcomplicating it, but
yeah.
it's
Well, you
probably
got this
fine.
this e pawns
Yeah,
hanging, isn't it? Yeah, yeah.
it's all fine.
It just sort of feels like there's no, White's in this sort of dream position where all of White's pawns are on dark squares.
Yeah,
So Black's got this bishop, but he can't actually attack anything.
yeah,
So whenever Black moves the bishop, he's basically passing, and
yeah.
White's got to sort of contrive. I mean, he's got to be a little bit careful here, hasn't he? Like, is there any way to sort of contrive anything? I guess rook. when it comes to f6, it hasn't actually got another move to
No,
get out, right? So,
feels like you have to go
uh,
king g3 and
although actually, I'll take that back because you black has to move, right? So he either has to move his bishop. So yeah, so
okay.
Babs has played it. So black does have to move somewhere.
So it's almost like a Zugzwang position
It
here.
is,
You'd
it's
want to
absolutely
completely pass here, right?
pass. If you could pass, you would, because then that avoids. But I think this means that black's king gives way, and then is it
Because now you can go
check?
g6
Is
and
it
king g5 unless you
that'll
go
do? That'll
king
do it. Yeah.
h6.
Yeah. I was actually going to suggest maybe doing it the other way, but that doesn't work, does it? No. So you want to check first. No, no, this is actually harder than it looks, isn't it?
Just
Why?
a,
Why anything's always harder than it
I
looks?
know, just a quick result. So Richard Bailey has managed to win that game on the king
Well
side.
done,
So we thought. So congratulations, and well,
well done,
Richard's
Richard.
just joined us in the chat. So congratulations. Um,
So that's the
on a
final
2-0 win.
score of
So that is a final score of 4.5 for Richard
great.
Bailey. So
Yeah.
many congratulations to Richard there, and we'll see him in 2 weeks' time. Um, let
Excellent.
us just quickly jump back to that position. Jack's suggesting, and I think Jack's right here, just swing the king all the way round to d6 in this position.
Yeah.
Just get the
It
king
it,
to
look,
a
it
better
does look a
square.
bit counterintuitive that you have to do that, but I
Yep.
mean, yeah,
Whoops.
that is absolutely fine as well.
Yep. And chess.com thinking I'm trying to guess the move there with king g3. Um, but yeah, as you say, I mean, it can take a little bit of time, but it does feel like it's going to be a.
So are we actually going to start with rook h8, rook h6, and then run the king all the way around? Is that the idea? Something like that?
I mean, you can
I
sort of,
would probably do that, but
yeah.
yeah,
It feels
it's
like you
just
can do
finesse.
whatever you want. Just tie down black's pieces, and
Yep.
then do what you want. Um,
Yeah. I guess you just don't want the king to run. I think, yeah.
yeah, you don't want to give the king a
You don't
chance
don't
to
want the
come
king
into.
to get in, right? So you sort of want to stick the rook on the h file somehow to avoid this nonsense. Perhaps it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Perhaps it
sorry,
doesn't matter.
I'm just enjoying drawing
Yeah.
some arrows. Just leave me be.
Yeah.
There we go. It's slow and
Well,
steady, but it
50. How many moves have you got to do that?
well, we've only had 10 moves
Just
so far
checking it.
since the
Yeah,
exchange,
that's
so we've
fine.
had a while. We've had a little time
Yeah.
there. Um, so that's all good. We'll leave this game for the moment because
Yeah.
it could still be a little bit of time. Let's jump to Brian Gosling against Rob Orton and just catch up and see what's going on in their game.
Yeah. Good idea.
Um, in the major section and what's going on here. Two sets of minor pieces have been exchanged, but Harry the H pawn has gone for a little
Going for a
wander
little
here.
jog. Yeah. How about close? Does it benefit white or black to close things up here by playing f4?
I'm not sure. It feels like
I,
it
I,
probably
I,
benefits white, I would say, even
yeah.
though they've
I
got the bishop
think this
pair.
is. Yeah.
Just
I
feels
think
like
this is just
taking.
letting in. Yeah.
Just feels like it puts black's knight on a nice square, and okay, white gets this f file, so it's a little bit double edged. But look at this space advantage in the center. Like these pawns feel
Yeah.
a little bit cramping, but at the same time, black doesn't have many minor pieces to really get cramped. So I'm
Yeah. Yes.
trying to work out a good plan here for both sides, if I'm honest. Okay, I like this move by black. This feels
Yeah.
like a natural square for the queen to go to. Now that you've got this blockade, so you can't push the e pawn out the way to bring the bishop out,
Yeah.
the dark squared bishop. Um, but black's rooks are kind of awkward to get into the game because white's got these pawns in the centre.
They are. I'm just wondering if there's any way to contrive something. I mean, this knight is sort of wedged in on e4 at the moment. I'm just wondering whether the king can sort of somehow step aside and black can swing a rook to h8 or something like this and play.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really believe it. That's the thing. Like like this idea of playing h3 because I think it's just going to be met with g3.
Yeah. But it's always in the back of White's mind, right? I
Yeah,
think we said this 2 weeks ago that if you've got an idea, just sort of leave it
yeah.
there to give White always having to think about what potentially is going to happen. It's being a little bit patient, something I'm not particularly good at doing.
No.
Um, but
I don't think taking is a good move at all.
no, this bishop
I
on
think,
e4
yeah,
feels really nice on the g
yeah.
square. Okay,
I
you've
mean,
got the rook
it
on
just
b2.
can't be challenged. That minor piece cannot be challenged,
Yeah.
like in any meaningful way. So,
Well,
yeah,
they say that in opposite color bishop positions, in when there's major pieces on the board, it's the attacker that has the big advantage because, as you say, it's because the opposite colored bishops can't be challenged by one another. So it means you're controlling more squares and can't defend those squares. So
I mean, this thing I was saying about playing G6, King G7, Rook H8, it looks. I mean, okay, maybe not now, but now that White's played that, it just feels like Black's position's been transformed, and
yeah,
White's just got this horror bishop on C1. It's
and
just,
in comparison, look at
yeah,
the bishop on e4. I mean, it feels like White should be able to get some counterplay on the queen side. I don't know how meaningful it will be, but it does feel like even sacrificing a pawn somewhere. Well, I was going to say with
maybe.
c5, but it's not as easy
I
as
think
that.
I think that I think the thing is, yeah, the thing is with C5 because the idea would, I guess, to be play Bishop B2 and try and open it up.
Yep.
I wonder if Black can just ignore it
Mm.
and just say, I'm not going to open the lines for your bishop. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna, yeah, um, yeah. And Black is also tied down to White's also tied down to E3.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah. It just
I
feels
mean,
like a position Black can play
it's really
slowly,
nice.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
Just as we have a quick flick back, we've got a result between Robert Kelso and Babs. Babs has managed to convert that game. Um,
oh, yeah. Well done, Babs. That was, yeah, good. What was the winning plan in the end? Because we were looking at,
eventually G6 came through, G6 and
ah,
Rook
that's,
F7, and then
yes,
here, which was something that I think it was clear that was one of the ideas to try and
yeah,
to get there. But yeah, so well played there. Even sacrificing the exchange,
yeah,
going into this winning king and pawn end game.
yeah, yeah,
Because of course here,
yeah.
if you go king e6 and you've got king
It's King
f4
F4.
and
Yeah,
that wins the game. So a 2-0 win for Babs this evening. Lots of 2-0s this evening, something we haven't
yeah.
seen all season. So that leaves Babs on 3 points, Robert Kelso on 1.5. So congratulations to all those players because I mean everyone's picked up at least 1.5 points over the 6 games, and yeah, so Babs finishing in outright third place there in that section, having started the evening in last place. So a good recovery from her there. We
Excellent.
have, however, still got 3 games going in the major, so we will continue looking at those. If I'll quickly put the position back up
Yep,
that we were just looking at whilst Tim has a quick look at the other games and
yep.
sees if anything's
I was just, I
interesting.
was missing one. So
Okay.
okay, as usual.
Yep. No, that's fine.
Okay,
So
pretty. Yeah.
yeah,
So yeah, we've talked through. Yeah, we've talked through this one a little bit. I mean,
yeah. White's trying to hang on here, playing quite defensively. I think something like Rook F4. Jack is also suggesting this. Just playing
yeah,
Rook F4 and
Queen
trying to
E1. Yeah,
blockade. Yeah, Rook F4, Queen F2 rather, and
yeah.
just try and remain
Well,
as rock solid.
you sort of picking. If you're not careful, you're picking up H4, right? So if
Mm.
Black doesn't, I quite like Queen E1 because it looks like a. I mean, maybe it's not that subtle, but look, Rook F4 is picking up the H pawn. So yeah, this Rook F6 is designed to meet that, I suppose.
Yep. As say,
Yeah.
I mean, Black definitely has the advantage, but it's not easy to straight away get the win out of it. Let's jump to Alex against
Yep.
Mike Marshall because I can see that the clock times are a little bit shorter there. So just thought I'd jump
Yep.
there.
Yeah. So Mike
Um,
Marshall White and Alex Black in this one. Yep.
yeah, that's
Okay.
correct. So Alex won the first game in this match
Yep.
and is a pawn up in this second position
Yeah.
and has a nice square for the knight coming into c5 at some point. And even with the two bishops, White doesn't really have a particularly open position to utilise them at the moment.
No, they're quite I mean, yeah, they're quite miserable, aren't they? The bishops at the
Yeah,
moment. That's sort of biting on.
it's because of the central pawns being locked up, right? It just sort of
Yeah.
cramps up the position. Um,
Yep.
Black's pieces are all just on that. So it's the only negative in Black's position is the bishop on g7 that is sort of stuck behind those dark squared pawns on the in the center of the board.
Yep. Yes, and white has a counterpart, so
Yeah,
on G2. So yeah, I like this move, knight B6. I think
yeah,
this is exactly the right idea. Basically saying to white, you're never gonna want to take on C4 because
mm,
I'm gonna bring my knight straight into the game.
yeah.
Yeah, so H5.
Just
So trying to just activate the bishop with bishop
yeah.
H6.
No, I was going to say I think this is a quite a good move actually.
Yeah, yeah, I like that.
What's the one piece that isn't doing anything in Black's
Yeah,
position? Well, I mean, the Black Queen's not doing huge amounts at the moment, but it has a lot of potential. But it's that dark square bishop that we were mentioning. So just find a way to get that into the game. It's always a good way of if you're struggling to come up with a plan in a position, just think sort of which of my pieces aren't doing much. What
yeah,
square do I want them on? How do I get them there? And
yeah,
that's always a nice way of sort of thing, in positional chess, sort of how do you improve your position? And that's sort of it's nothing specific. Clearly, you have to calculate sort of, if there's any tricks, but yeah, that's sort of a nice way of coming up with a
yeah.
plan.
And white, yeah, I guess white doesn't have an equivalent way of activating the bishop because black's king is perfectly safe here. He's got
Yeah,
the sort of the pawn cover, whereas it sort of feels like the pawn structure is not great for white.
yeah, and it feels like the
um,
exchange of the dark square bishops is actually good for black here. Because this bishop, okay, it is on a diagonal that can do something. It's still not a brilliant piece. So the
yeah,
knight on c4 clearly better than the bishop on g2 for the moment, and
yeah,
black has the extra pawn, so a really nice position here for black.
yeah. He's just getting active now, isn't he? I'm just
Mm, yeah,
yeah.
no, I like
I'm
this
thinking.
move.
I was thinking about this move, Rook F4, just
Yep.
solidifying, and then
Also
the queen.
allowing the queen to come in to whichever of f6, g5, or h4 that they so desire.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I think this is a very nice position. I like how black sort of maneuvered this, using the c4 square, eventually getting the knight there, activating the bishop. I think this has been well played, but of course, white still has tricks to try and to get at the position. So queen b6, hitting f2,
hitting
covering
F2. Meanwhile,
d5,
yep,
does everything you want it to.
yep,
So yeah,
yeah. White's gonna have to.
yeah,
Yeah, I think he's gonna have to play well to wriggle out of this.
yeah, going to be
It
tricky. We've seen
yeah.
stranger things happen though. So
You're not kidding. You're not kidding.
okay, let's take a look just quickly at the Rob Orton Brian Gosling game again because um, that looks like that
Wow.
could be nearing a conclusion soon. My immediate instinct is where's the checkmate. My second question
Yes.
is how do you get the pawn through to h1 going for
I think
b5?
most of these things, yeah. B5.
I'm sort of keeping quiet because I can't calculate whilst
Uh,
streaming at the same time. Welcome, Babs, to the chat and congratulations on your
yeah.
win
Yeah.
this evening. And also to Richard. I think I've already said hi, but I'll say hi again and congratulations to you as well. Um,
Oh, he's found this F4 move to access. It just needs the queen to come in,
oh,
right? And
that's a nice move to come
then
back to
it's
d7. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. This this is not looking
No,
ideal. I would take black here.
I think I would as well. Tricky position. I think Brian played this well. This was the English position that sort of had the H pawn. I think this is well played.
Yeah.
Um, it's always tricky when you're facing this sort of, obviously this position with the king been marched up the board, but it's when you're facing these opposite coloured bishops, it's always tough.
So it's yes. So
So where's the checkmate? Queen c6 is a
I
really
like that.
nice move.
I
Yeah,
like that because you just can't defend, can you?
yeah, just cut off the king. Cut off the
Well, you're
king.
just stopping the king retreating here.
Yeah,
It's just
it's curtains. I
yikes,
think
yikes.
you probably have to go queen d1 here and to stop rook a4 mate. But
But
yeah.
you've got queen c4 as well. Is the issue?
Oh yes, of course, yes. And here, well, take your pick of which one.
Yeah.
Which one you want, queen c4 or rook a4. Um, so that's looking like that's going to be a win for Brian and take a 2-0 win this evening. Are we going to get 6-2 nils after the
Wow.
first the first week where we had like four matches that were all 1-1, and tonight we've seen a lot of 2-0s. Let's see if that continues. I'll just jump back again to Alex against Mike Marshall. I realise we're not looking at Steve and James's game, but they've got more time
Yeah.
on their
Take more
game.
time.
And okay, Alex has just won the position, has played knight a3, forking
Yeah.
the queen and the rook, and White had seen enough. So another 2-0 there. Alex takes 2-0 and finishes on
Yeah.
5 points. Mike Marshall
Excellent.
finishing on 2.5. Um, and Brian finishing on 3 points. Rob
So
Alton on
Alex
half.
got to 5, and
Yep. So it's a potential for Steve to get to 5 as well.
yep.
So Alex on 5, Mike Marshall 2.5, Brian Gosling 3, Rob Alton half. I'm just saying them out loud because Tim hasn't got this up on the screen. So
No, it's fine.
there we
Yep.
go. So we do have just the one game going, and it is James McDonald against Steve Dean. Um,
Right.
and so
We managed to keep up with them this week. It's good.
we have, yeah. I think they all seem to finish at different times, which I think helped, and just there
Yeah.
was a bit of a staggering, and of course that was sort of, I would say, helped or also hindered by
Yeah,
the technical
funny.
difficulties we had earlier on from Chesterton. Thankfully, they didn't last that long, which is pleasing. I was a bit worried, I must admit, that we may not have seen any action this evening, but we've got a whole round in.
Yeah.
So let's have a quick chat at this position, and then if there's a little
Yep.
bit of a lull, we can explain what's going to happen in 2 weeks' time.
Of course. Yep.
As I realise I've got no water left, so I'll have to go without. Um, so material is level in this position. This feels like a
Yep.
very standard Caracan position. The light square bishop is outside the pawn chain.
Yeah. This is a smart idea, swapping these bishops, though, isn't it? Because Black is trying to, make White think about the C file, and these bishops coming off, and then Black can choose where to put the knight. Can
Yep.
even go back to F5 if he wants, but White's sort of tied down to this A pawn. I'm not actually that familiar with this sort of structure where White gets the pawn this far, but it
No.
looks like a difficult thing to deal with, because you've either got to, I mean, you don't want to play b4 to sort of shore it up,
No.
because then c3
Because then
becomes
c3
horrific.
becomes too weak.
So you're
Yeah.
just always tied down to this pawn. So it feels
Yeah.
like the advantage must be with Black, but yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
mean, I don't know. Sort of, I'm just going to quickly jump back to move 15 as black after rook a8. White going a5, which doesn't feel quite like the right idea, because as you say, once you close it up, it sort of that becomes a permanent weakness. I was wondering whether it had got White had gone a4 in response to like the pawn coming to b5, because quite often you want to keep the tension in those positions. I just wanted to see
yeah.
what happened. Just as a comment, Babs has just made in the chat that Robert Kelso agreed to restart the position um, when Babs winning the queen up. So what great sportsmanship. So yes, I didn't see the position, Babs, but yeah, if that's the case, then that's very good sportsmanship from Robert Kelso there. So thanks to him
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
there.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, um, it feels like Black has a well, it's a very standard Caracan middle game, sort of late middle game where there's just a bit of
So
manoeuvring going on.
what should White's plan be here then? What is White after from this position exactly?
I mean, I've avoided this sort of position like the plague as White because I really struggle in it against this sort of opening. I think, I mean, as you say, this a5 pawn does sort of tie White down a little bit. It gains a bit of space, but isn't like controlling enough space. I was about to say kingside attack is probably the right idea. I'm not
Yeah,
sure g4's the quite right, but sort of maneuvering with something like rook e3, um, rook g3 maybe, or push the h pawn up to h5 maybe. It's
yeah,
kind of tricky. Um, but when you've got this space advantage with the pawn on e5, generally White wants to keep the minor pieces on the board. as we just keep an eye on Steve Dean's clock.
Yes, I was going to comment on that. Yeah,
It's not for the first time we've said this, but
it
it's.
is not the first time ever that this has come up.
um, but yeah, it feels like it just feels like Black has a nicer position here, but I'm getting nervous with the clock. I need to stop looking at it.
It's plenty of time.
It's fine. It's absolutely fine. Um, yeah, I mean this square is a nice
F,
square for the knight on
yeah,
d4 to sort of blockade things, but yeah, white sort of
F
needs to
F4
improve.
F4 F5. Is that the
Eventually, yes. I don't think straight away. I think I'd want to tuck my king on like h1 or h2 first, or get the rook behind it on f1. Um, this g5 move feels a bit loosening. Like, can black get away with something like rook h8 and king g8 here, and actually black be the one put pressure on the king?
yeah? I don't believe any of this. No, the
Yeah,
it's it's an absolutely horrible thing to have to face if you are um short of time, though, right?
yes, but
Like
that,
that. As,
but what's white's threat here? Because okay, white's got his queen on h5, but this pawn on h3 actually gets in the way a little bit.
yeah,
I was going to say that I would expect Steve to try and trade the queens here,
which he has. Yeah,
which he has,
yeah,
which is a very natural thing to do when short of time, to try and simplify a position to get to the end of the game. So
yeah.
you know,
I think this is quite nice for black now, isn't it? I
yeah,
think it's just solid.
yeah. This H pawn is a slight weakness later on, but at the same time, where's this knight going? How does this knight, this after king g3, you've got to go g5, because this knight on h4 doesn't have any squares to go to. Okay, it can go to f5. What am I talking about?
F5,
Sorry,
F5's fine, yeah.
this is past my bedtime, Tim. We were meant to have finished by now.
Yeah, that's true. So
Um,
now this check is very good, isn't it?
yep,
Because you have
has
to
to be
take
traded
take with the G pawn, and then
with the
you
g pawn.
you take you take black any day now because the king's
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. This h pawn,
Rook
okay, it's a putt.
C4 maybe, and
Yeah,
just play against these pawns. Yeah,
nice move. And okay, this h pawn is a passed pawn, but it's not going anywhere
no,
anytime soon. And in fact, it's probably a weakness because it's an isolated pawn.
yeah,
So,
yeah. So I have had this kind of pawn structure quite a lot, and yeah, and
yeah.
the H pawn is not as good as it looks basically.
No, well, it comes up in sort of Caracan, Alakhine's defense, and also in Scandinavian, which I presume is where you've got this sort of position before from.
I've had it in that, but I also have it um in the modern,
Yes, of
uh,
course, yeah.
where a knight lands on f5 and gets chopped,
Yeah.
and you
This is
take
sort
back
of
with the G pawn.
sort of where you go c6 and d5, this so-called Gurgendzitzi, whatever it's called,
Yeah,
system,
yep,
that sort of
yeah,
thing.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So whilst they play out this rook end game, Tim, did you want to just explain what's going to happen in 2 weeks' time, where Alex Poyser, Steve Dean in the major section,
Yep.
Trevor Hurt and Richard Bailey, what are they going to be doing in 2 weeks' time?
Yeah, so we're going to be emailing the I don't say contestants, but that's not quite the right word to say.
Gladiators,
The participants
ready.
to congratulate them. Yeah, they're going to be playing off in the same format
Yep,
in a fortnight's time. So obviously the top two, as Tom Swed said, have qualified from the major and the minor. But we will also have a tie-break system in operation in case it does end up as a 1-1. So unlike the Grand Prix, where I think we did it over 4 games,
yeah,
sort of 4 matches, which obviously a bit of a longer format.
yeah,
We decided we're going to stick with the format
yeah,
as it's been played here. But in the case of a 1-1 draw, there will be a sort of faster tiebreak that
yeah,
follows immediately. Sort of gives us the opportunity for that.
yeah.
But
More
yeah,
details to
it's
come on that, but
more details to come. Yeah, but it'll be a fortnight's time,
yeah,
which is the 9th, so evening of the 9th of December.
yeah.
And yeah, we obviously hope you can join us then. Should be some really closely contested matches.
Yeah, and hopefully a bit more in depth. Well, I was going to say in depth commentary. I'm not sure we can do too much of that, but we can certainly try because we've only got 2 games to cover
Exactly. Yeah.
cover. But it'd be nice to get as many people as possible watching that sort of live.
Yeah.
So if you're watching this on the video, because I know the videos are getting 120, 130 views, which is incredible. Um, Sort of, it'd be nice to get as many people as possible to support the players live for the finals in 2 weeks' time. So and also obviously any of the players that have played in this that have unfortunately not made the finals, they can obviously join as well into
Oh,
this.
that's a brave move to play with 5 seconds left, isn't it?
Very
So
brave,
so it's just yeah.
very
I think
brave.
all the tactics do work out,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
whichever way you take. But yeah, you get this little rectangle of rooks. It's always hard to.
With
Are
one
you,
of
are
them
you-
pinned with the king, it's a bit like, oh
yeah.
gosh, yes. But White's done probably the right thing and has got active. Okay, White's a lot worse here, but the worst thing you can be in a rook endgame is passive. It's the
Yeah.
worst thing you can be. You'd rather be a pawn down and active than
Yeah.
equal material and passive, unless it's a fortress. Just much rather get active. Um,
This is going to be. I mean, we talked about Space Invaders, but this is this. They're all lined up. This is going to be 5 versus 1.
yeah, we're
Looking
getting
forward to it.
gobbled.
There we
Um,
go.
I have a feeling, Richard, that it won't go straight to an Armageddon. I think we'll be doing sets of two Blitz games, but
Yep.
we'll have a quick chat just to talk exactly about what the time control is and whatnot. But
Yeah.
it will definitely be to start with two games of 10+6, much like we've been playing
Yeah.
um, up until this
And
point.
I think doing it in pairs is sort of fair. It's weird, isn't it? Because chess is like the um, one of very few games where there is this advantage to having the white pieces.
Yeah,
So I'm always Armageddon aside, I always like sort of the games being paired up, in a
yeah.
playoff because it means that you do get an equal um, crack of the whip.
I think
So
it's also fair to say I don't know how we do Armageddon on chess.com because I'm not sure it has an option to
that's true.
do
Yeah,
opposite time controls. But yeah, I agree. It's just one of those things that sort of in other sports you have a home and away advantage, and they sort of go, well, it's not enough, so just go with it. Oh, deciding not
uh,
to play Rook
so
A1 checkmate, but
not to mate in one, but I think
I think the four pawns should be enough. The four Space Invaders. Uh,
yes.
this is going to be called the Space Invaders stream. Maybe I should say on Twitch that we're not
Well,
playing
yeah,
chess. We're playing Space Invaders. Maybe that'll get some
yeah.
more viewers. I'm not sure. Yes. I mean, I think it's
It,
fair to say Black's making
it's
some
one of
work of
it's one of these
this.
positions. It's one of these positions where you've got so many pawns that they sort of go, yeah, they disappear quickly,
Yeah,
But I think this is just over, isn't it?
yeah. This D Space Invader. It doesn't matter if you lose the two F1s. The D
Yeah.
is the D pawn's the one that's going to come through.
I think it's one of those weird positions where I think if Black only had that pawn, you'd have absolutely no problem just getting on and winning the
Yeah,
game. But because you've got these other two, it's just like, oh, do I really want to lose those? It's
you've
like, yeah,
almost got too many options, right?
there's too many wins. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can play the one that doesn't win. I've certainly done that several times. But it does look like Black's going to get the job done here. Um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. That's
that would be 6 out of 6 matches this evening that have gone 2-0 if Steve can does finish the job off here, which is
yeah.
a stark contrast to week one of this, where there were a lot of long end games and you know um, and one
I
all
think I think
draws.
it's what you'd expect, isn't it? When you get a close competition, I don't know whether the players are sort of in this mindset, but when you're in a close competition, let's say you lose the first game,
Mm,
that then is difficult because it does put you in a must-win situation.
yeah,
So you you sort of take additional risks maybe, and yeah, and end up losing. Obviously, it can go either way, but
mm,
well played, Steve.
yeah,
It was down to 2 seconds several times there.
several times. Well, I think
Dear
Steve
me.
and James definitely take the crown as the longest games in both the first game and the second game. I think it was like nine. I think Babs and Robert Kelso had a 90 move game with that exchange up end game. But of course, time wise, I think both these games have gone quite the distance here. Um,
So, do
and
you want to do a review of who's made the final then? I mean, just I
yeah,
guess you got the scores up on the stream
yeah,
on the screen
scores
there,
up on
but
the stream,
yep,
but we can go through it. So in the major
yep,
section, we've got Steve Dean and Alex Poyser who've both finished on 5 out of 6 in the major. So
yep,
fantastic performance from both of those
yep,
players. Brian Gosling has finished on 3 points. Mike
yep,
Marshall on 2.5. James McDonald on 2, and Rob Orton on half. So Steve Dean and Alex Poyser will be battling it out in 2 weeks' time in the major final. And in the minor, we've got Trevor Hurt on 5 points, so the outright winner of the mini Swiss portion.
Yeah.
And then Richard Bailey on 4.5, Barbara Newcombe on 3, Graham Wilson on 2.5, and Barry Purchard and Robert Kelso finishing on 1.5. So we've got Trevor Hurt and Richard Bailey there,
Yep.
going through to the final in 2 weeks' time.
Excellent.
With no
Congratulations all.
playoffs.
That's
With
brilliant.
no
Yeah.
playoffs for things, which is what me and Tim were worried about all week, I think it's fair to say. Maybe not
Well,
worried.
yeah.
Worried's not the right word, but
Yeah. It's always tricky when you come up with these. Um, let's use the word innovative to be polite. These innovative formats, like obviously there's always going to be a situation where you could have a tie for first or
yes.
second, and then you need to have some sort of additional stage, wouldn't you, to sort of settle it. But yeah, that's worked out very nicely indeed. So
Yeah.
yeah, happy to see a lot of sort of local players as well.
Yeah.
Sort
Completely.
of make it through to the final.
Yeah.
That's really excellent news. Yeah.
Yeah. And we look forward to seeing those matches in 2 weeks' time. But yeah, for now, I think that's the next thing that we'll be commentating on. I'm trying to remember when the semi-finals of the Grand Prix are, but I think we may just be before that. So I think for now we'll say 2 weeks. Today we've got the finals. So that was the 9th of December, was it? Did you say?
Yeah. I think so. So this will be the next one, I think, when it's so the 9th, Wednesday, the 9th of December,
Yeah.
7:30.
Yeah, and
It's
we'll
good.
we'll end the stream with a comment from Babs. I need a wine. By all, I think we do too.
One alcohol, please.
So thanks everyone for either watching live with us on the stream or on the video afterwards, and make sure to join us in 2 weeks' time for the finals of the Autumn Mini Swiss. Thanks again for commentating, Tim, and we'll see you all in
No
two
worries.
weeks' time.